Okay, I will call the meeting of the Wednesday, June 12th, 2024 meeting of the Trees and Greenery Committee to order. We have the minutes from the May meeting. I hope we have them attached. Any comments, questions? Okay,
I've reviewed them. They look fine.
okay.
Yes, I agree.
Tree removal requests. We have 45 Colonial Drive. Is there anyone here?
And we have many people.
Come right up, Chair.
Thank you.
Peter, could you pull the speaker closer to her so she doesn't have to reach?
Sit down.
Thank you. This is actually a pretty ironic request because I'm a lifetime tree hugger, and the first thing I do when I move anywhere is plant trees. However, the tree at 45 Colonial Drive is right next to the sidewalk. I've owned the house for about 20 years, and we finished the basement in that house, I think about 8 years ago. In any case, aside from the digression, the tree, which is right in front of that house, keeps growing its roots into the drain pipe. And the result of that is that the basement got really badly flooded, wiped out the whole basement, everything in it, a couple of years ago. And it was not counting the things that were damaged, just stopping the flood and having ServPro come out, and it was gray water, so it was a real mess. Anyway, that will recur if that tree is there. And I had a plumber come out and drop a camera down the pipe to see if the roots were growing in. They were not. When I tried to have somebody come back, that is to say, after the flood, part of the remedy for that flood was having a plumber come out and totally ream the pipe, replumb some of the exit lines from the house, and that will recur. So I am concerned about flooding my basement again. I don't know if any of you has tried to get a plumber lately. It's a lifetime task, because I wanted to have them drop the camera down again. I would really like to not have that basement completely wiped out again. And that will happen if those roots keep growing.
Could you give us your name?
I'm sorry, Joan Cohen, and the address is 45 Colonial Drive. It's in Panaway Manor, where I know there have been a lot of trees taken out for other purposes. And I know that that tree was not scheduled in that process to be removed. Alex came out. No, I'm sorry, I'm so bad on names.
Me, Max?
Max, yes, I'm sorry. It was Max who came out and looked at the tree. And my understanding is that unfortunately the tree is a healthy tree.
Yeah. Yes.
So that leaves me in a serious dilemma. If the tree doesn't come down, I'm looking at basement flooding on a regular basis, which would not be fun. And on the other hand, I hate taking trees down. So I need to,
Where is the pipe in relation to that tree?
it's,
The driveway, then the tree?
no, it's right across the middle of the yard.
So the other tree could also have an impact on your property.
No, there isn't another tree close to it. This is, Max, you've been out there. This tree
Yeah,
is.
There is
clear-
another tree nearby, so
Well,
yeah.
but I think it seems to be pretty clear that this tree is the offender.
Okay. Typically, other trees can grow their root systems 1.5 times their total height.
I'm sure
So
that's
it's
true.
not out of the realm of possibility that the other tree nearby, the sycamore, excuse me, we just went over this, the London plane tree, that tree may also, it could potentially be the offending root system.
Okay, I guess my question is, as both a tax-paying homeowner and a tree hugger, what's my solution? That's basically the question.
you had said that you had a plumber televise your line
They drop a camera down there to
Right.
see if, and,
to inspect the line?
and I have had that line, I've had to have that line before the flood. I had that line staked practically annually. It's expensive to do that.
Sure, but when they televised the line, they didn't see signs of roots?
I haven't had it done since the flood. They did see signs, absolutely. There was no question that it was root damage at the time the basement was flooded.
So the concern I would have for you is that if your sewer service is compromised to the point where roots are getting into it, it's likely that the sewer service is in need of repair, replacement.
I did that
So if you
to
did
the
that, it should
tune
be
of
a-
several $1,000s. That
Right,
was
so it-
replumbed. Port
From-
City Plumbing did completely rerouted the pipes from the house.
Sure, so then
I have
the roots
tried every
should be able to
solution.
get into the newer pipes are gasketed and are tight. So my concern, it may be that you might have a flat, your service may not be pitched in the right direction, things
It
flow
is.
downhill.
Of
And if
course.
it's flat, you can get accumulation of material, or if it's flat relative to the sewer line and you have a flood
That's,
sewer line.
that's exactly what they corrected.
Okay,
That's exactly what they corrected. It was Port City Plumbing. It was like $6,000 to do that
yeah, which is,
replumbing,
it's expensive.
in addition to the flood damage that had already occurred.
So,
So that, Port City Plumbing came out and examined the situation and corrected the pitch or whatever it was. So I don't know what to do at this point. That was only 2 years ago that Port City did that.
right, which is, if they replace the line, I would not think you're at risk of having it blocked up with roots again. So, I mean, I understand the concern related to that. But short of re-televising it to show that there's no roots in there. That really would be, it's hard to recommend removing a healthy tree.
I agree.
And we've, in the past, root damage and intrusion into sewer lines has not been a justification for removal of a tree. Usually what we ask the residents to do is they're responsible from the house to the line in the street,
Right,
which you've already replaced that line.
right.
So the line should be in good shape and it should not have root intrusion. So
You think that the lines that were replaced by Port City are root resistant? Is that what you're saying?
that's what I'm saying, yes.
I certainly hope that's the case.
And
Um,
if they installed them correctly. So,
Hmm.
and it depends on how much they installed. They may have installed, did they go all the way into the street? Or did they just do like first 10 feet of your yard? Do you recall?
I don't. I would have to ask that question. Don't know.
I don't like volunteering staff time to do things on private property.
Uh-huh.
However, where there's a city tree involved in this, I can see if our staff could video your line to confirm that the line is in good shape.
I would really appreciate that.
Max, you have, I'm sorry, is it Joan you said?
Yes.
Joan's phone number
I
and
do.
contact information? Why don't we
Yes.
work with Dougie and Carl?
Yeah.
And get.
And get Brad out there with the.
Yeah, get Brad out
CCTV.
there with the camera.
Absolutely.
That
So
would be,
why don't we inspect that and we'll see what the condition of the pipe is?
that would
that'll
be
give you peace
wonderful
of
and
mind.
possibly allow me to sleep at night. My grandson is living in the house.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that should give you some peace of mind if it's in good shape.
I would very much appreciate that.
Okay,
That would be great. And I would love to be able to save the tree.
right. It's a beautiful tree.
It is a beautiful
And it's
tree.
a healthy one.
Right.
Okay.
John, this is a problem that's come up quite a few times and
It's-
and we usually don't have somebody quite as understanding as you, sitting here telling us. about
Oh, well,
And it's, because if we just said, well, if there's any root problems, the tree has to go, probably could affect 25% of the trees in Portsmouth.
I could easily believe that, actually. I could easily believe that. And I also appreciate the dilemma of this group in addressing that. So I have tried to do everything I can to not have to take the tree out. But I would really appreciate it if you all could get out there and assure me that we can save the tree. and my basement.
Sure, sure.
So do we make a motion to postpone?
Second. Aye.
All in favor? of
Aye. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Joan.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you. very
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
It's not done yet.
Thank you, Peter.
Yes.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for getting up.
That's the greatest challenge. I don't even have a cup of coffee in my hand, and neither do you. I work running this.
We know someplace to get it, though.
Yeah. We have a hookup.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
We have other.
yes, are you, what's?
89 Clinton. 89.
89 Clinton. All
Mhm.
right. We go to, whatever that number is on the agenda, 89 Clinton. Why don't you come up and have a chair here? You both can go up. Sure.
So Floyd Buck, Fran Buck from 89 Clinton Street, we've got a Norway maple that's sitting probably 8 feet off the house. Where to begin with a list of things? When we first bought the house, we had to have the sewer line replaced that she did because the tree was destroying the line, it had destroyed the line. Since then, it's dropped more than several branches. Last year, Max's crew went out and trimmed it back so that it wouldn't do that anymore. And since then, we've gotten to the point where we want to possibly put solar on the roof, and it's the one tree blocking most of our solar access. And it is obviously because it's hanging over the house, it's mossing up the tree, the roof rather, and that is being cleaned off as we speak, at our expense. So it's it's buckled the sidewalk to, there's probably a foot rise in the sidewalk where it's buckled it up. So we're thinking its lifespan is over, and it would benefit us if it were gone so we could do the solar, and we'd be happy to have it replaced with something smaller, more manageable in that space. Like you've done in the past with further north on Clinton Street. I think it was another of those kinds of trees. It was hit by a box truck, and you guys took it down and replaced it with a flowering lilac tree, which is beautiful, and it's sitting mostly in our yard. So it's like we don't mind that aspect, but
We love trees too.
yeah. So this tree is, it's one of those that was victimized by that Clinton Street reconstruction about, what was that, 15, 20 years ago, where they probably chopped most of its roots off at the street side. So it's been struggling ever since. And we would benefit from it going down, and I think it's a matter of time before it starts failing again anyhow, I think.
And minimally, we'd want the part over the roof. I mean, having to moss build up all the time and having it cleaned again is an expense. And the other thing is, the sidewalk's so buckled. Kids, everybody walks on the street.
Nobody uses that
Nobody
part of the
uses the
sidewalk,
sidewalk because
and it's
it's buckled so bad,
it's a challenge to snow blow. I should add that.
I mean, we sit out on the porch all the time and I watch the kids and the dog
Yeah.
people, and we have dogs and stuff. And, it's like nobody will walk the sidewalk.
Peter, could you bring that up? Can you find that? Oh, no.
Hmm.
Thank you. You have a beautiful piece of property.
Thank you. We like to take care of it.
I can tell. Very, very beautiful.
And we love trees too. That's why.
We planted several in the backyard after we
Yeah.
took down. That's an older picture.
Yeah, so this is from
Private or-
2019.
Hold on a second.
We've before it comes back up, I'll just say that we have, as you mentioned, we have addressed some of the issues of this tree. It looks pretty similar to where it does here, but we did pull some of the weight away from the house.
Yeah.
Sounds like not enough. And there have been a couple of tear outs since, so nothing so significant that this image doesn't represent the tree as it is now, but it's certainly a little bit different. The only other, when I go through and look at you know, if someone requests the tree removal, I'll go out and obviously inspect, and my notes are here. But realistically, I think the tree is stressed. It is sending out a lot of water sprouting and suckers throughout the canopy. That tells me the tree is, again, stressed. And then there's really just some cavities from old pruning cuts that we made. So there's really nothing stands out structurally that, you know, that I believe that would cause any significant risk of failure but it's a Nora maple, so we know that they are a little bit weaker, I suppose. And if the conditions are right, you know, absolutely a limb can come off and break in a storm.
And there's lines you
Yeah.
can see the lines all
That's
the
come up
time.
The right corner of that
Yeah,
house up
they
there.
come right to the house, so. I mean, we've been lucky that, I think I don't know if we've had a line come down yet, but we've been pretty good at trying to call you guys to trim when we
Yeah.
see it dangerously over the lines, but.
So is that back limb closest to the root, is that still there, Max?
That lowest
Is-
one on the right there?
Mhm.
I
Yes, it is. I think
It is,
yeah.
okay. I know we reduced the weight, so it doesn't mean eliminate every branch or leader on the house side, but it's, you know, maybe taking the tip back and giving the house a lot more clearance, but this will shrub out. Like if we bring something back, it will,
Sure.
the tendency it'll send a bunch of new
Placements.
smaller branches out, replacements, and then one will establish, and then,
And it has
Little-
done that. I mean,
yeah.
every lot of trees, when we trim our trees out back, they get better the next year.
Was it
you
last
know,
year, or the year before you trimmed? I think the year before.
Yeah.
It's been
Maybe
2
a
years.
couple of years. so.
So I mean, the branches that are hanging over that house now are out of view because it's just the angle of the camera. But the pictures that I took, do you have them that you could put up?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Because that would show you the branches hanging over the roof that are causing the moss issue. And obviously for solar, the tree is right in the way of the sun because you're looking right now east, west.
The two things that concern me about this tree is I don't like the base of it. I don't like the root system being pressed like that
Mhm.
and the sidewalk lifting and that the fork closest to the house, it almost seems like there's a horizontal crack developing in it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that can be absolutely valid. Yeah, that can be pruned away, but that's kind of illustrating the tendency that these trees typically get, right? The weight will be so extreme, this crack will start to form, and that'll eventually become a tear out if we don't address it. And that's, yeah, that's indicative of these leaders as they grow and
And
get larger.
you've seen it's got vertical scarring. Is that from separation or is it just
Um,
part of the way that those? trees
Yeah,
grow?
it could be from a number of things, but that already tells me that that wound, whatever it was or
Yeah.
whatever caused it, has already sealed. So when you see that kind of pinched together, like it's two ridges kind
Yeah.
of creating like little mountain, it tells me that it's already closed up. So not quite a concern, but it was something before. So I mean, depending on how long it was open, right, it could have allowed some moisture or some fungi to get in there and could potentially cause a decay long term, but not quite an issue now.
Okay. Yeah, questions for Commissioner Floyd?
I'm not sure if Nancy Johnson had. I saw something pop up on my screen that requested something.
So Nancy lives next door and there's one tree up. You had marked that
Yes.
instead of ours, but she also requested, because hers is kind of dying
Yeah,
too.
and I talked to Nancy as well, so.
I guess it's coming up the next round or something.
Yeah,
I don't
yes,
know.
yes, yep,
Oh, so that's 64, 63. Clinton.
81.
Yeah.
81?
Yeah,
81?
we're
Yeah.
89. She's
So
81.
I'll save it, I'll
Go
save,
ahead. you could-
I'll save it for later, it's fine, there was a little bit of a mix up on my end, but we're all set, and obviously if Nancy, would like to speak to any of this,
She's been trying real hard to keep her trees alive in her backyard,
yeah,
because she's got a huge Norway maple back there that's been
yeah, kind of
Cable-
offset by the,
cabled a couple of times.
yep, I think I might.
Nancy, if you'd like to speak, go ahead.
Oh.
Yeah, just unmute yourself.
I didn't know she was there.
Maybe she can.
All right, well,
Should be. She,
It might be unrelated, it might be
okay,
more related to her tree.
fair enough.
yeah,
Which I think she put a request in too, so this is.
So as far as another prune situation, Max,
I mean,
I mean, it's a-
getting,
you know how it's a big tree
yeah,
and tall trees and big trees with canopy in this town are very valued by me.
yeah.
And I'm always very hesitant to, take down a big tree.
Yeah, I think at least as far, so just speaking strictly about house clearance and maybe trying to accommodate for solar and this tree, they won't play together.
Right.
There's no amount of pruning that we can do that would allow for that to happen. If you were just here talking to us about, hey, there's moss or lichen on my roof, we can absolutely prune for that. And we did it before. We would just take it a little bit harder back
Mhm.
and hope that branches don't continue to establish. And they, as you know, they will anyway, so it doesn't matter. That's an easier conversation because we can prune for that. But if you're really interested in solar, it's not with this tree here. That's not gonna,
Yeah, well,
I
I brought up the other issues and the concerns.
yeah, right.
Yeah. It's not gonna get healthier.
Yeah, I don't think it will. I think that, I mean, but these are also really hardy trees.
Yeah.
Like they take a beating and keep going, you know? I do see, I've noted that it's stressed. That could have, that could be related to the pruning that we've done, the site that it's in, it could be restricted. I mean, with the sidewalk right up against its base, the road right there too. So it's certainly not in the healthiest way, but that doesn't mean it's so far gone that it's not redeemable as a tree. So I mark this one as fair condition, right? Like it does have some issues, and Dennis, you noted that there's that crack that's shown there too. So I have a mixed opinion on it, but I don't, yeah.
Are there plans in the next couple of years for Clinton Street being redone again for separation or something like that? I've heard that a number of times from different sources, and I'm
There,
thinking. if
there is an
that's-
item in the CIP to continue with improvements in that neighborhood. We're starting on Bartlett Street.
Yeah.
So that is the first one.
So I mean, if that's something that's gonna happen in the next 5 years, the tree's gonna take another ding then. And then will that be its death now? Because it's not growing through my foundation yet, but it's a rebel foundation. So if it wants to, it's gonna.
Sure.
It's, so if you cut away again at its street side, it's only gonna have two directions to go and. they can
So
live.
when we do those types of projects, excuse me, Max,
Yeah, no.
when we do those types of projects, we assess the trees and determine how much damage will be done.
Mhm.
Especially if the root system is buckling the sidewalk. And we're gonna reestablish the sidewalk, there may be justification at that time to request a tree.
Yeah,
We've. All the reasons that have been cited are not typically reasons we grant tree removal.
Okay.
So the concerns relative to structural integrity of the tree are things that we take into mind. It may be when we do the road and sidewalks, it'll be clear that the best intentions, you're not gonna be able to save it if you're cutting back the root system on the tree, and we have granted removal of trees during those types of things. So.
okay.
And I think that's what's really important is to talk about the integrity of the tree and the health of the tree. This committee, I don't believe has been, and since I've been here, has been presented a removal of a tree connected to solar. And-
Yes, solar is not part of the discussion.
Well, that.
Okay,
that
I
was
just wanted to make sure,
just one of the items,
as a
right?
committee, this is something that's,
There actually was one on Thornton Street, no, Dennett Street. Dennett or Thornton, that came in concerning solar and we didn't approve the removal. I think there was some other issue that came up later or something, but anyway.
okay.
You mentioned about an alternative, another tree in the location.
So there was a tree on the other side of the driveway that got hit by a box car. It was I think it was a.
Oh, no,
thing.
I meant that you talking about room for another tree on your property, if I understood you.
No, I said we said if you remove that one, we're okay to
Replace a
put a
small-
smaller tree that won't buckle the sidewalk. and well,
Yeah, with,
that's fine. They did that before when they moved that other one that got hit by the box truck. We said, sure, put up another tree, and they put up the.
that's when you guys put a lot of trees in a lot of neighborhoods.
Yeah.
I think that's.
So we're not-
is that
we're
towards
not in-
Stark on the left-hand side over that
Yeah.
way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not up, we'll definitely allow you to put another tree there. It's just, it's the buckling of the sidewalk. It's, all the tree. You're gonna have to cut a lot to get it off the roof. Every time there's a storm, limbs fall down. So I mean, all those things, and solar is just another advantage for us, but there's also those other things to consider. So that's all.
Peter, you mentioned it, Clinton Street in that area being in the CIP. Do you know when that's potentially
Couple years out,
a couple of years?
but it's blocked out like the McDonough Street projects.
Okay.
So it was a 8-year
Yeah.
duration. So I'm not sure where Clinton falls in terms of that.
In that loop. This is what the deliberations on this committee really.
Right,
are,
we've,
'cause it's the balance of both.
Yeah.
right.
I mean, I'm just thinking if it's gonna be removed in 3 years or 5 years because of the reconstruction, then what's the harm in taking it early? And that way you mitigate any damage it's gonna do between now and then. Winter storms or spring storms, summer storms have been showing that they'll take out any tree anywhere.
Yeah.
And if this one's a candidate for blow down, then you're saving. I'm just spitballing. It's just, if it's gonna come down anyway, then
Yeah, and I would say the opposite to that is like, if we can heavy prune it off of, set back to the roof line. And if we're going to remove it in a couple of years, can we mitigate until we redo the sidewalk, redo the sewage in there?
Yeah.
So I think it's.
And there are many trees that buckle sidewalks around this community. It's all over, it's my house,
Oh, I know.
it's everywhere. So again,
It's not great, though.
no, it's not great. It's, yes,
And every time I'm just looking down, watching,
right.
and this is an older community now, so people, it's all of Clinton. I mean, it's not just in front of our house. It's almost the whole Clinton is buckled.
Yeah,
There's tons of buckled sidewalks because of the trees.
Yeah.
I'm sure when they were put in years and years ago, no one ever thought about that it would do that, but
Move
Max,
to,
would you say that of the 3 trees that are consecutively aligned, that this one is the healthiest of those 3?
I would say that, yes. So we're talking 63 Clinton, which I'm sure we all,
that's almost dead.
81 Clinton Street, which is a red maple, and then this tree here. So those are the 3 trees we're referencing.
Dennis, you want to say something?
So should I make a motion to remove this tree? Is that where we're headed, or? Then I'll make that motion.
Dennis made the motion to remove the tree. Is there a second? Motion to not remove the tree.
I move to table the request to further evaluate schedule for Clinton reconstruction projects and further evaluate the health of the tree.
Second.
Second, third,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
I had one question. That's, who did you get to get rid of the moss? My house is looking like a fat.
Hey, he's out there right now.
He's out there right now. He's
How
just,
precision they were at Hampton?
yeah, precision cleaning. They're out there now. They put
Precision-
some chemicals
Precision
on the
cleaning
roof
and
and they're
painting, so they're
cleaning.
gonna
Will you at least
do the
take it
roof,
away
they're
from the
gonna
house?
watch rest
Yes.
of the
Yes,
house.
we will definitely,
So I was
yes,
gonna-
Max will.
I was gonna
It's all
kind of surmise what I
Thank you.
think what we're thinking,
We
so.
were just postponing to really gather more information.
Yeah, so I'll talk to Peter about what Clinton Street looks like for the next couple of years.
Mhm.
Yep.
We'll go out and prune, of
Yep.
course. We'll take care of any sort of structural issues and also pull it even harder away from the house.
Yep.
My suspicion is that will continue to stress the tree out. And a couple of things may happen, so the tree may ultimately
Making more
start
decisions
succumbing to
today.
those stressors. And it'll start to decline on its own, at which point that removal
Will happen.
conversation can come back up. The alternative being the tree kind of stays in this sort of state
Yeah.
for much longer.
Yep.
when we get clarity on what Clinton Street may look like and maybe the scope of that work, its potential impact on this tree, again, that'll be another avenue to bring this removal conversation back up. And when we're there to prune the tree, we will sort of go look through the upper and central portions of the canopy just to verify that there aren't any other significant structural issues. Because typically, you know, I really just do sort of a ground level inspection and sort of just look on high, and it doesn't yield perfect results, but I do get a general sense of the health of the tree. So when we're there to prune, I'll go over it, look at it even more thoroughly. If there's anything to report back to this committee, I will. And I'll also communicate with you too about what I've recognized in the tree.
Okay, perfect.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thanks for
Thanks for
your time.
coming. Thank you. Okay, should we go ahead and just talk about?
That's okay. Max, my name is Lori Kelleher. I'm Master Gardener over at the Wilder Garden behind Community Campus. Max has been out there. He invited me to come to the meeting. A discussion of our desires and what our intent is going forward.
That's the Zen Garden.
Zen
on here.
Garden.
I forgot that it was called the Wilder.
You want to
If you
come
wanna
on
come
up?
up to the mic
Yeah.
and just state your name.
They call it the
Start.
Wilder Gardener?
Warren
Garden?
Wilder.
I love it.
You would know, right?
Warren Wilder Gardener.
Was Patty Wilder, was Warren on the Board of Trustees?
With Ferris and Morton.
Yeah.
So Patty was his wife, and she was a pediatric nurse over there.
Yeah.
And this was established in the early 2000s. Really a beautiful garden that over the years has not been kept up. And Brian McPherson, who is a part-time summer teacher there, last year noticed the garden from his window and went out and started to really recognize the roots and bones of the area. And so we as master gardeners went out and really cleared quite a bit of overgrown shrubs, invasives, and now it's at a point where we're looking at really reestablishing, but we do have a few barriers of bigger than our talents and capabilities to deal with. So Max came out. We've been also dealing with Trevor and Elos, and it's been a great.
What's the final intended
Mhm.
opposition of this?
So we have put we had a landscape architect come in. We have plans in place to reestablish the garden with some shrubs, perennials. There's a trail that's being established or across the way from the garden.
Mhm.
So just bringing it back to community use.
Any questions? Did we all come out and, did we all go out and see all the red flagging?
Sure did.
All
Oh,
the
okay.
trees?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Make sure that was clear. Okay,
Okay.
cool.
There's an impressive variety of conifer species in the little area.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I see some of the requests are kind of in the middle, right, to open that up. Do we have to do it all like one again when we get these package deals?
Say again, like.
Well, like there's, what are we talking, 5 or 6? Yeah, and I'm always like, well, these, okay, yes, but I'm kind of questioning that the sort of the one in the front it's a different kind. Is it the hemlock
I
or?
think there are three sort of pine varieties right front
Right in
and
the front.
center.
It's the little one in the center.
Hmm,
That one I question. It
So
just
the-
has some real,
yeah,
just architecturally, I think it's a cool way to come in, especially to a Zen garden. It kind of is
yeah.
Japanesey feeling to me. And
So the only thing, I mean,
so I just think if you got rid of the other ones, then maybe leave this one. I mean, I don't know, just my kind of little.
I think the
feel.
canopy had like imparted like the growth habit on this tree.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a fine tree, it's, but if they were showing interest in removing it, I'm assuming the plan is to get other trees in these spaces as well, like is that the rough idea?
So, because of, well, the other things that have grown quite tall, like
Mhm.
the Kentucky yellowwood, the Canadian maple, Japanese maple. So the viburnum has definitely almost to the height of the roof that's neighboring. So we just want to bring in some smaller plantings to, again, reestablish more the ground area. The bigger pine that's in the center, that's half is decayed
Yeah.
and diseased, that definitely is imparting a lot of inhibition of light to the area. So but smaller species.
I think the overall initiative and effort and attention to this is fabulous. I love it all. It's just this tree was just particularly of interest to me. It was sort of tailored. And once you take the other ones away, you know, that's just my little 2 cents.
Okay, okay.
You meant, well, you looked right at me when you said that it had been let go for a long time, and I'm thinking my years on the board, 9 years on the board, I was guilty, and now I'm feeling badly.
We're here to restore, so
Okay.
it's nothing to feel bad about it. And we can't restore it to the original. It did have a water feature. The water pump is still there. But Elios, who was there 20 years ago, said there was water issues going into the basement of the building, so they had to shut that off and close down that part of the garden. So we will not be having any water and probably just replacing some stones to the bed of where the garden was, where the stream was.
Okay, so Max, a question on the, there's a hemlock in the group. It seems to be overpowered by the pines that are growing around
I
it.
think so,
So there's
yeah.
no limbing up that would help that.
Um,
I mean, a lot of it to me seems like it's just overgrown. The plant, the trees that are there have just gotten
yeah,
big, and I struggle with saying, well, you know, off with their heads just because they've done what they're supposed to do.
sure.
Yeah.
Speaking on the hemlock, I don't think that's like the healthiest tree out of the lot. I mean, if we move to remove that one,
But it's hard to see it. I mean, you
Yeah.
see pieces of it. So is that all that's actually flourishing?
I think so, only
Because of the
because because it is essentially, you know, I don't want to say understory, but it's, you know, being enveloped by all of these other dominating trees that are just, and it's just one of those things that if this wasn't intentionally planted, then that's trees will just decline in that way because they aren't getting the same sunlight that the others are. I didn't see any signs of the hemlock woolly adelgid or anything like that, so I can't point to a pest and say, yeah, this is that would make the argument a lot easier in my mind. But
Yeah.
I just think it's a declining older tree amongst other trees that are healthier and are able to exist in that space against this hemlock. I don't know. It's
survival of the fittest.
yeah, kind of. And to your point too, I don't think pruning is really. If we were to prune dead or declined branches off, like it's going to be a sad looking tree. In my
Or
opinion.
even the trees around it.
Yeah, I think, that cluster right there, when I saw that tagged, I was like, oh, well, I can see the argument. It's a little unsightly, definitely on the decline, but not completely gone. So I get the hesitation for sure. There were, aside from that, I mean, those pines in the front that we were talking about, their general health is okay because they're maybe the smaller variety and they have a little bit more, they get a little bit more sunlight from that open parking space and
Right.
over there. That pine in the center, I think that one's also on the decline too. And then there's those 2 cherries, that one cherry that's literally like a pole, but
That
it's
poor
leaning.
cherry, I know.
And then there's another cherry that had another stem removed from it and it's all decayed at the base. So I think those cherries are the real easy sells, I think, for me. The pine also easy. Those 3 front ones, as you mentioned, I mean, they look okay, but you know, everything else is so overgrown that now these trees have been, their shape has been, they adjusted to that all those overgrown other trees. So I totally understand why you'd want those removed as well. And then that hemlock, you know, if it was a very healthy, full specimen, not surrounded by other trees, I think that would have been totally fine to save too. But within the scope of what you're looking to do out there, you know, I totally see the value in removing these trees. I think, you know, it probably wasn't the original intent to have all of this overgrown for so long, and that's had impacts on the trees that you do want to keep, that we will come back. And the other conversation we were having was coming back and raising up and pruning the trees that you do want to be saved to sort of make all of that a little bit nicer as well. So,
Do we want to have a motion on both items from the community campus or no, take them one at a time?
oh, including the ash tree.
Yeah.
The ash I get.
Okay. And yeah, we could do that. I think that works for me.
Where is that one, Max?
That's,
From the-
so if you, as you're turning the corner and the Wilder Garden is on your left.
Mhm.
If you continue down that road on your left-hand side, next to the community campus building itself, there are like 3 trees there. One of them is an ash. That's showing signs of emerald ash borer.
So do we have a motion to recommend removal?
Of all those trees
Yes,
And the.
yes,
and the ash.
yes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Seconded by Deb, made by Dennis, seconded by.
No,
Deb.
that was seconded by Joanna.
Any discussion?
Seconding that little baby.
No, I like that guy.
All
He's
in
like,
favor?
hi.
You're no longer there.
Amelia's there.
Okay, that's a very valuable.
Amelia's now a proud
Okay.
employee
Well,
of the
thank
city of.
you. I appreciate your
Hey.
time, and Max, thank you very much for the invitation, and I look
Thank you for
forward to
coming.
the evolution of rebirth of that.
Yeah, thank you for your community
Yeah,
service.
and I,
Thank you so much.
If you all would like, I can include updates and sort of show you photos, or if you all are so
Love that.
inclined, go down and check it out yourselves and see the progress. I think it'll be really cool.
Yeah, we actually found
Yeah.
the original garden plans just this year
Ah,
of, in photographs of the excavation, and it really has pushed us in a very forward momentum
Yeah.
to keep it going. because
Yeah.
it
great.
really-
I'm curious to see what you're gonna plant for the underneath. And
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
71 Sheffield Road.
Did we vote on 63 Clinton?
No.
Let's go, circle
do
back
it.
to
Okay,
that
We
one.
just, okay, do I have a motion to recommend removal on 63 Clinton?
I'll recommend removal of that.
Made by Deb, seconded by Michael, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 71 Sheffield Road.
Did we all see this one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this came as a request from the homeowner there. And as I was speaking to her neighbors came out, and also, I'm surprised no one's here because they, is there anyone? Nope, there's no one attending. They were all in favor of this tree being removed. So obviously at the base of this tree facing the road, you can see that decayed wood with all the carpenter ant galleries. That central leader also not, we removed more than half of that central leader very recently. I think this spring we removed that central leader and also raised up the half of this maple that was actually alive and decent. Hello. No, you're okay.
We're talking about your tree right now.
Thanks.
Perfect timing.
Timing.
So yeah, we were just talking about the decay at the base, that large wound with all the carpenter ant galleries, and then also in all of those sort of major leader connections to the trunk there, there's shrubs growing inside those unions, inside those crotches. So what that tells me is that there's moisture, and then there's also probably a decent amount of decaying material that's supporting these plants. It could be very little, it could be a little bit more than that. So just wanted to, that's kind of a critical spot, because then that if there's decay and there's moisture getting in, that could lead to a weakened attachment point and could cause failure. I think with the way this tree is growing, the fact that really the best parts of this tree are back towards someone's house and yard, that tree's only going to get even heavier as it goes, a little bit taller and heavier on that one side. So that to me weighs pretty heavy. And then obviously that decay at the base of the tree can only spread further. So it's not
Okay, now if you give
Yeah.
us your name and,
Oh, yeah.
floor is yours.
My name is Jim Prendergast. I live across the street from that infamous tree. I've been watching it for the last 11 years since we moved in there, and it's gotten a lot worse over time. To the point where I took a picture of the rot spot where all the carpenter ants have managed to get in there. Here's the post-it that they put,
Oh,
and here's the rot spot with carpenter ants marching in and out. My concern is obviously, if it ever goes, and someday it will, it's gonna go across the street right under the power lines. And that would be quite terrible. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be late and,
No,
It was right on time.
yeah, actually.
okay.
I
well,
I
that's
move
good.
to remove the tree.
I second.
Second.
If anybody would like to see the rot spot, it's quite significant.
It ceases to amaze me relative to the property lines and road configurations in this city,
Yeah.
how that tree is.
Oh, yeah, the
is on
property
city
lines
property.
yeah, the property lines on Sheffield Road are strange because I live across the street and the city owns 11 feet into my yard. Because I guess way back when they changed the position of the road, as I understand, so, yeah, it's strange.
It never ceases to amaze me either. I'll get again, talking about tree removal requests, I'll go out and be like, no, that's not a city tree. It's really close, but it's not a city tree.
Yeah,
Or I'll get there and the right of way goes to the person's like front steps. And
Yeah.
it's like a 20-foot wide
Exactly.
city right of way. And I'm like, okay.
So we have a motion to recommend removal, which was seconded. And, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I like, referred to, actually referred to as Carpenter Ant Gallery.
Yes, galleries. Yes, it's bumped it
It's
up.
like it's something we should be savoring. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
thank you, Pete. How many years have I known you?
Ever since you were a rookie, many years ago.
Well, that was, yeah, many years ago.
Well, we've got one more Clinton's Avenue.
Yes. Old business section. Yeah.
Street is in front of us a
Yeah,
lot.
this is-
Yeah.
I think one notice goes up and then all the neighbors
Everybody
see
sees
it
it.
and like, oh, I want that.
I want
you
to
know.
jump in on that.
Keeping up with the Joneses, is that the, so
So this is 250.
This
Yes.
is, this is the one.
That we've
this is the
We're
paper
busy.
road at the end
Right.
of,
Oh,
yeah, so
Why did we postpone?
to see if this tree's removal would impact the other two maples on the property.
Okay.
So I went out there, spent more time investigating the nearby trees, also established really tried so without pins, like property pins, finding, and they wouldn't be on that side of the property. I tried to locate it right at the corner, but I took all the tools that I had at my disposal and lined out with white flags where the property line is. And I do not think that maple is on city property. I think it's very close. Same with the other second maple that we postponed for. I believe both of those are on private property. Because if you're looking straight down toward the mill pond there, it's almost like the road sort of curves outward, and it pretty much pushed that tree onto private property. We've worked on it in the past when Chuck Baxter was the arborist foreman. I think it was just one of those things where it's so close that it's really hard to determine. But from where I was standing and the tools that I had and the things that I were looking at and investigated more thoroughly, I believe that to be a private tree. So I already spoke to the homeowner about it. Obviously, I don't know if there's been another situation similar to this before where we've sort of deliberated on a tree that actually is on private property. So I kind of don't know where to take this from here, other than yeah.
Max, if you determine it's not a
That's
city
it.
tree, then
Okay.
there's no, we're done.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
No, just just a question.
One, there's three of them there.
That,
All three?
that one in the center toward the left, that one is sort of on the embankment there. That's a city tree. But the two maples sort of straight back on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
I've determined those to be private.
Okay,
So,
all right. And that was my.
okay, so that's the end of.
great.
Okay.
discussion.
End of discussion. Now, do they have to go, just as for, do they have to go and are they in a wetland situation?
so,
Will They have to do something else?
The only other element
Just-
I
I'm
wanted,
just thinking out. I
yeah,
wondered.
the only other element I wanted to bring up is that this homeowner and whoever she gets to contract for
Mhm.
this tree, they do have to apply for a permit to remove a tree
Okay,
within that wetland buffer zone. So she believes that I believe it's 50, I believe it's maybe 50 or 25 feet from the nearest observable tide line. So when that water rises, it's pretty much across the street at that point. So there's no question about if she does or does not need to have that permit.
okay.
So it's the NHDES they apply, not the city.
Well, it's both.
I think it goes through, my understanding is they have to go to City Hall and then that process works itself.
It'll go through
Yeah.
Concom.
Okay.
Okay,
and Conservation Commission.
And then the other element of that is residents will need a letter from a certified arborist, essentially saying what the issue is and why it needs to be removed. She had that when she was here last month. So at least as far as, I guess it's obviously not a city tree, so
Right.
we can't necessarily deliberate on that, but.
well,
I
thank
think
you,
she's on
Max,
the
for
way.
that
Thank you.
hard work and
Yeah.
thank you.
Third item.
There's a white ash right on the edge of the
I told
pond.
her, yeah, yeah,
She can take that down if she needs a permit to do it.
yep.
She
If
needs a
it's,
permit to do work within that.
yeah,
Shoreline buffer.
but that, because it's completely dead,
Yeah.
that's a very easy thing to move. If it was a totally perfectly fine line tree, not as easy, but because it's stone dead, I believe it's relatively simple to have that.
Next item on the agenda, update of ongoing planting. Any report, anything going on the?
Watering mode.
Yeah, we're watering mode.
Guys out doing that the other day.
Yeah, we have 3. Last year we had one large watering truck and one small watering truck. Now we have 2 watering trailers and the other smaller watering truck. So now we have 3 routes going out so last year we planted 200. This year we did like 154, give or take. So that's a full day for everybody. That's a lot of watering across the city. And we're just maintaining those tree rings. We'll probably, this always happens. I don't know how, but we will completely dress up the mulch rings and everything. And we'll go back maybe a month later and the mulch rings don't look good anymore. Like the mulch is already gone or like sloughed off. And so we always have to reapply a lot more mulch because we want something like 2 to 3 inches on all of those rings just to really keep them through the summer months. But other than that,
Do you feel like that's because of the rain, the heavy
Probably
consistent
is.
rains?
I think so. Yeah. I don't want to say it's theft. Someone could be going around taking all of our
Not-
mulch
not the
off all of
mulch.
our trees. No, I'm just
Did you
teasing.
go to City Yard and get some? We provide
talked
mulch like we
about-
do
I-
salt.
Feel like for as long as I've been here, we've talked about having some kind of just mulch pit.
Yeah.
But it's not, I mean, the chips that we produce through our typical operations, it's not shredded.
It's not
like
so
bark
good.
mulch is.
Drop it off at Adopt-A-Spot sometimes.
Yeah, or it's good for trails if people want to, lay mulch all over trails or like at the community garden, over on 33, we'll dump chips over there every once in a while, just for like people to walk on,
Right.
but it's pretty unsightly when we put
Mhm.
that around. It'd be great if, they were a little bit finer and a little bit more shredded, but
When do you apply the compost, Chief?
so we are working on that right now. Yeah, so great. Thank you for bringing that up. We have a summer intern whose responsibility will be to apply compost tea to all of our recently planteds and last year's, and then also all of our downtown trees.
Uh-huh.
And there are a few trees across the city that are a little bit in a rough spot, so we'll probably apply a lot of compost tea for those trees as well.
You just, flagged something in my mind. The little bitty tree in front of 55 Congress, right on the.
Yes, the one that was in the Facebook post.
What's the tell me what's 55 Congress? Give me a
Used to be the
landmark.
Portsmouth Spa, now it's like.
Congress and Fleet, I think, right?
Congress and Fleet.
Mhm.
So it's like a little tree.
In front of the box.
Yeah, the box jewelers.
Oh,
like,
okay.
corner. So it's like a little tree that is no longer treeing and now there's just a vine growing up.
Yeah, we removed that. we removed that. So unfortunately we're trying to put really urban tolerant trees in those sites because those are some of the roughest. Yeah. That was an Osage orange that we planted last year. And I think they were doing some work on the fascia of that building. And I remember driving through the middle of summer last year and they had broken the entire central leader of that tree.
Oh,
And I kind of freaked out. That was probably the most frustrated I've been because it's like they just putting all their staging there and then they were leaning stuff against the tree. And I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Them liable for anything like
I
that?
don't know.
Obviously, it's not a giant investment on our end, but
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't-
I feel like we should be holding.
Mm-hmm. They should get a talking to.
I did. You should have saw me. I was probably as angry as I could have been out there.
Be a penalty. I mean, if they smashed part of the sidewalk, they'd be liable for.
According to the ordinance, if someone knowingly or unknowingly damages or removes a tree, there is a monetary fine associated with that.
I just think staff time replacing that, all, you know what I
That's
mean?
exactly what it was in the middle of summer, so we've already watered this tree
You've got
dozens of
compensate.
times. It's like just the wages alone, and obviously the cost of the tree, and we factored out that pit and we filled it up with loam. We did all this.
Do it again.
No, we don't have to, no, it's not quite established, like the root system isn't so established that we can't just shovel it out and top dress it, but, so that's why it looked so crazy, right? Like the top was knocked off and then all of these other branches were trying to become that central leader. And it looked absolutely crazy at the end of last year. And I'm like, hopefully that doesn't mean it's overexerted itself. And now it's exactly what happened. It was sending out all these shoots and it just did not make it through the winter. And that lovely Facebook post,
It's horrible.
my friend who lives out in Northwood, he even saw it and sent it to me. And I'm like, A, what are you doing on the Portsmouth page? B, I know about it.
Your own mental health, stay off it.
Yeah.
But I do have, I wonder, and I know this is it is added work or something, but I wonder when we are the newer plantings or something like this that you guys are well aware of, even if there's some type of kind of spike of like, be kind to me, I'm new, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, like just something.
Please don't pee on me.
Just something
Yeah.
be like, delicately like spiked in front of it so that people understand like there's no not due diligence being done, but also to kind of communicate to people like this is a newly established tree, please like leave me alone.
Yeah.
Or we understand I'm not pretty, but please love me still.
I think
you know?
signage-
Something like our
But
own
be
internal
careful with
promotion.
it being so clever because then they'll take it.
Well, they take everything, trust me.
That's right.
How many chairs I've replaced outside
I
like
know.
that bag in the middle.
Yeah.
They take whatever they want.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah, we've had conversations about that before. It's not of the realm of things that we can do. I would just have to sit down and come up with the sign, and
Right.
we've talked about it. So what's challenging about the downtown, what's that?
I said, I'd love to make little signage.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's problematic about our downtown trees, and we've applied that porous pavement on
Mhm.
all of our established trees.
Mm.
I really want to get that on all of these planters, pretty much from Fleet and downward, because those are the work, like, I've seen dogs obviously in there doing their business, but people will stand in those pits. We've thought about putting up like a tiny little 2-foot perimeter thing just to like, hey, don't, but it would be really nice to have a tree established in there so we can porous pave it. And then people stepping on it or dogs urinating on it won't be this really terrible thing that can happen. Yeah.
Right.
So,
May not be pleasurable for them
Actually
either.
remove
of
the
course.
tree.
yeah,
And then-
it'll just be, we'll plant a tree next year and hopefully that will establish too. I think that's the third tree we've had in that location, maybe within the last 5 years. It's a really rough location, unfortunately.
It is a rough
Do we
location.
have any old business,
No.
any new business? I just want to say something on a new business. I had occasion to come down, get off 95 and come down Market Street Extension one morning recently. And looking at the landscaping on Market Street Extension, I was just very proud to be a resident of Portsmouth that it's just so spectacular. And then I was riding my bicycle up Middle Street just this week, and all the new plantings that have gone in the last few years and this year and last year, it's just amazing. And talk about due diligence. I mean, it's what the city, and like on Market Street Extension, this committee approved, reviewed the plans, but we didn't come up with the idea for it. Now, Public Works or planning, or someone in the city government came up with that plan, spent a lot of time developing it, and we're reaping the benefits of it. And it's just, then we see something on Facebook, say, oh, you didn't take care of that tree. I mean, this is what has happened. And just talking today about the 2 watering trailers, that it's probably unheard of in most communities. And then it's a light years, beyond light years different from what it was just 25 years ago.
So true.
It's,
So true. So
great.
true, Peter.
I agree.
And you know, when AJ brought that collection of people across the nation for that gathering, they from all different places, Minnesota, they were so impressive, our community and our dedication and what we do. There's nothing, they have nothing, and they don't see a path forward. So we're the bomb.
And
Yeah.
finally, and I didn't, I wish Peter was still here, because I'm just thinking that just listening to Max interacting with people that come before the committee, he's such an ambassador for the city of Portsmouth.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Peter, I'm
Yeah.
just saying watching Max interact with the people that out in the field and when they come in here, is an incredible ambassador for the city of Portsmouth, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
I appreciate
So
it.
true.
Thank you very
And
much.
backed up by the tree warden. And his solutions of what I do say, I think that's Peter's favorite title.
Yeah.
Tree warden.
Okay, anything else? We'll,
Any applicants in the pipeline for Dick Adams's replacement?
I don't know.
Not on my end at this moment. Come fall, things could shift. But for the person I'm talking to.
We,
And Dennis has brought in a little show and tell. Would you
Oh.
like to show and tell?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, I got a scoop.
There's some
but-
cones.
Well, this adorable little one is from a Douglas fir. Yes,
Mm.
it's very unusual.
Yeah, it's like a little
But if
spider.
you'd like to see them, they're right here.
Oh,
Ah,
Thank you, Dennis.
certainly. Thank you. It's been a pine cone year.
oh, yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody. Man.
Uh,
for coming
Motion to
today.
adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.